Our guest today is the multi-talented, ridiculously experienced entrepreneur and fabulous individual. If you get the opportunity to meet him, John Stevens with Act with Purpose. So stay tuned. John, welcome. How are you, buddy?
I'm doing great. Great to see you, Christopher. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you for asking. I really appreciate your time to be here with us today.
Well, thank you so much. There's lots going on, so I'm excited to be here.
So I want to dive into it with you, John. You've been around in the industry for a very extensive amount of time. A lot of people know you, and a lot of people have nothing but positive and beautiful things to say about you. But how did you get started?
So it's actually kind of funny. So I started off in the circus. My brother and sister and I had the opportunity when we were younger to go to Ringling Brothers Barnum Bailey Circus quite frequently. And that was because of my grandfather. My grandfather built miniatures of all of the major circuses. So he was kind of like a VIP, and we always got ushered in and met all of the performers and that sort of thing. And I quickly gravitated towards the clowns.
All right.
Insert your own joke there. But in any case, I actually came to my parents and I said, I want to be a professional clown when I grow up. And so the insanity began at age 7. I started taking unicycle lessons, juggling, clown makeup, you name it, and then moved into doing, some trapeze and tightrope and other types of things. But my main focus when I was younger was to be a clown. And growing up in the Seattle area, there was something called Seafair, which is a really big event. So I went and I competed in the Seafair Clown competition. And I was Seattle's Seafair Clown 2 years in a row. Yes, this is my life. When I was about 9 and 10 years old. And so in any case, around that time is when I got introduced to stage acting.
Okay.
And somebody locally there said, hey, we're looking for somebody for a commercial. We're looking for a kid who can ride a unicycle. It's like, well, how many of me could there possibly be? And so I started off doing that, and I was hooked. I loved acting for television and film. I love doing stage. And I think my parents were quite happy when I came home at age 12. And I said I no longer wanted to be a clown. I wanted to be an actor. And to them, I feel like most people, when they say they want to be an actor, their family cringes. Yes. When I came to my family and I said I want to be an actor, it was a step up from clown. So they were actually quite relieved. So I think I have one of the few families that was just so thankful that I wasn't going to be a clown, that they really got behind me and supported my acting career. So that's how I got started.
So I want to ask, did you have a clown name?
I did. I had a few,
okay.
But for whatever reason, I believe Pinky. I was Pinky the Clown, which I don't know why that came out. But in any case, I had a really great mentor. His name was Dino the Clown. And Dino still performs and is a local celebrity in the Seattle area. But he came to my birthday party, and I reached out to him when I was 10 years old, and I said, I would like to be your apprentice.
Nice.
I would like for you to mentor me. And he was like, what? That has never happened before. And so I started working with him, and I got to tell you, I learned a lot from him. Number one, the thing that I think that is so spectacular about Dino is he's never touched a drop of alcohol or drugs. He knew that when he was going to be working with kids, he wanted to be a really positive role model. So that's something that's pretty remarkable about him. But in addition to that, he built a home out of recycled materials.
Okay.
And it's out on, I believe it's Bainbridge Island. But in any case, just absolutely phenomenal property. It's a gigantic playhouse, and he has a gigantic birthday party there every year. And I remember one year, my dad, because he was a pilot, actually flew Dino the Clown over his property, and he parachuted into his own birthday party. So yeah. So that was my childhood. What was your childhood like?
Yeah, not that. So you went from being a clown, coming into acting and theater. I mean, that's a fantastic story. I think I'm just going to keep calling you Pinky now. It's a good thing YouTube wasn't around.
It's one of the nicer things I've been called. So.
So I know at one point you had actually posted on media saying that you had this, I'm going to say the infinity of balance. And you have this when you were, as you're sharing the story about riding a unicycle, and it wasn't too long ago where you said, hey, I'm going to hop back on this thing and try it again.
Yeah.
How successful was getting back on the bicycle, so to speak?
It was great. And I have to tell you, there's something about getting back to your true self. And I feel like that's what I've done this past year is I've been able to get back to the things that mean something to me, back to things that bring me joy. And for a long time, that just wasn't a possibility. So I've really enjoyed it. I did get back on the unicycle. I am fine. Unfortunately, the wheel because I have had, to be fair, I've had that unicycle since I was 10. So that means I got that for my 10th Christmas. When I was 10 years old, I got a 5-foot unicycle. What did you get for your Christmas? So I started riding it then, and I've had that unicycle. That unicycle has graced many stages all across North America in different stage productions, including the Village Theater for Carnival. It also, I think I wrote it in Babes in Arms too. But in any case, yeah, it's been all over the United States. It's made it here. I performed in Canada for Fashion Cares when they did Circus Circus here in Toronto. I was the one riding the 6-foot unicycle right down the middle of the runway. And I had stilt walkers behind me and that sort of thing. It was pretty successful. I do need a new unicycle. So that is something that's in the works, just because, that one's been around for 40 years. The fact that it's lasted all the original parts for that long is, I guess, a good testament to the make and model. But so I think balance has always been a part of my life, and trying to find balance is a constant theme. It's certainly not a destination; it's a journey. And I find that even now, just with trying to find the balance between my work and my personal life. Right now, my personal life is my work life, but now that I'm kind of getting resettled, and that sort of thing, I do find that balance is finding its way to me, and it's one of those things that it's like, people say try to concentrate to relax, and it's like, well, it doesn't really work that way, right? Like, if you're truly going to relax, you kind of have to let things come to you. And I think that that's what this, like, if I look back on this year, I've just let things come to me. And it's been such a wonderful experience. And I really am blessed, and I know that, including having you in my corner and, being able to work with you and call on you for collaboration, inspiration, or
You're giving me a lot of credit there, John.
But it is really nice. It's a different circle, building a new circle of friends and that sort of thing, which I think is really important, especially after a divorce, which of course I'm going through this past year. So that's been a huge part of it. But in any case, I'm just getting back to those things that brought you joy when you were younger, I think has been very therapeutic for me. So yeah, riding the unicycle has definitely been something that has carried me through, especially post COVID. It's just fun, right? It's just something silly to, do to pass the time, make a few people, turn their heads and what have you. It's fun.
If they're going to stare, might as well give them something to stare at.
Exactly.
And it really leads me into this piece with you, Act with Purpose. Walk me through your Act with Purpose, your company. This is your baby. You're on your own now doing some stuff. Not many people are jumping, saying, "Oh my God, Act with Purpose." Walk me through this. Why now are you on your own? Why is Act with Purpose super important?
So I wanted to create a place where people could feel good about where they're spending their money. I think the thing that's hard about actors and any creative type, paying for training, is you want to feel good about where you're spending your money. And so I wanted to create a place that, number one, was affordable. I never want to be that coach that is so lofty that the normal everyday kind of actor doesn't have access to me. Mm-hmm. And so that was something that, number one, I wanted to make sure that my price points were very reasonable and I was accessible in every sense of the word. So when we talk about accessibility, I want to extend that to also the financial, aspect of it. So that was number one. Number two, in terms of feeling good about where you're spending your money, the thing that really makes Act with Purpose resonate with so many of our students is that we are making monthly donations and creating a real sense of community, depending on what month it is. So, July is quite typically dedicated to Indigenous peoples. So that's where our donations went. For June, which is traditionally LGBTQ2S plus Pride, we donated to local shelters and programs that would help youth, etc. So really trying to find a way to give back to the community that has given so much to me. And the other aspect of it is when I'm coaching actors, the one thing that I try to get them to see and understand is, what is the purpose of the scene? Why did the casting director choose that specific scene as the audition piece to find out whether or not an actor could carry this role, right? Okay. Also getting them to look at what is the purpose of this scene in the overall storytelling of the movie, right? Or film. So getting them to understand that. Also getting them to understand the purpose of their character. What does your character lend to the overall story? Why is your character there? Are they comic relief? Are they there to be suspicious and to point out the flaws and what's happening around them? Are they the one that is there as the romantic interest? Are they the one who is there as the villain to drive that part of the story along? If you don't understand the purpose of your character, then it's going to be really hard for you to understand, what you're doing when you're filming. So that's really the thought process behind Act with Purpose. And I'm really thrilled that so many actors have thought, you know what? Yes, that's the kind of place I want to be involved in. And people have really come over and have enjoyed that sort of positive, non-threatening, no bullying, that sort of thing. Just a really positive, free space to create. And
you've mentioned, sorry to cut you off, you've mentioned a few times the word coaching. And a lot of people, when they hear, go see John, for an example, they're going to take a weekend class on how to be an actor, stand in front of the camera, look left, look right, things like this. But you're actually using a terminology of coaching. So it's kind of what I'm hearing is that you're almost breaking down the scenes with an individual to do self-tape help and self-audition helps, but coach them from getting that anxiousness into the character and helping that explanation where, and I've had this conversation, not many people do that. So when you look at coaching an actor, what's the biggest takeaway or push for you? Someone comes in, John, I'm here with Act with Purpose. I love being here. It's positive. It's beautiful. They meet you. I'm going to tell you right now that they're not going anywhere else. What is that one-on-one experience like?
So I think the thing that is important as a coach is to make sure that you're seeing the person wholly. And I try to coach very holistically in terms of, I really try to look at the overall person. I look at their speech patterns, their physicality, how they communicate in real life. And then as soon as they start to act, a lot of times people just put on way too much. Mm-hmm. And so kind of whittling away and getting back to, well, I just want to drop you into this situation. Because when we were just having a conversation before, you were fully expressive, you were using your facial expressions, you were using your vocal intonation, you were doing so much. And then as soon as we start to act, we all of a sudden go overboard. And now all of a sudden we're in our head voice. And so getting people to fully understand, to just pull back and be real. Just be yourself. Unless you're a jerk, then be somebody else, right? But just finding a way to be natural. I find, especially in the Canadian market, Canadian casting directors are not looking for that big, over-the-top sort of Americanized performance. Okay. And so I think that that's one of the reasons why I've been so successful in Canada, is having my experience both in the United States and here, and being so closely connected to the LA market. People do come to me wanting to kind of be able to navigate between the two, because casting for the United States and casting in Canada are wildly different. Even though it's the same animal, I mean, it's the same, process. You can say it's driving a car, but driving a car that's automatic and driving a car that's standard are two very different things, right? And so the same thing with casting in the United States and casting in Canada. There are huge differences in what casting is actually looking for. So I think that's another one of the reasons why Act with Purpose has done so well in such a short amount of time.
So you could be this liaison for casting in Canada and US. And I love the passion that you speak with when it comes to Act with Purpose. The biggest difference is, of course, you. I mean, you have beautiful training and staff, and the facility is wonderful. And a lot of people go there for you because of that personal one-on-one and that openness and accepting people as whole. When you talk about accepting people as whole, and we talk about casting, and you have that edge, is there any future plan for John Stevens or Act with Purpose to be a talent manager, a talent agency, where you're training people and representing them for both markets?
It's really difficult. So I've been approached by so many different people for different things in terms of that. Being an agent and being a coach have a lot of conflicts of interest. Okay. So it could be, while it could work and it would take a very special relationship and situation, it's not something I'm really gunning for. However, as life would have it, I am starting to break into a little bit more of casting. So people are coming to me, especially, obviously, my work with persons with disabilities. So people really kind of not only kind of kept me in mind when it comes to American projects or American/Canadian projects, but they've also really come to me at any point when they've needed any person with a disability, for different types of castings. In fact, I just got one yesterday for a voiceover where they're looking for somebody who is a wheelchair user for a voiceover. So if there's any listeners who happen to be wheelchair users who have really lovely voices and are over the age of 18, reach out, because I might have a casting for you.
To your point, where productions are calling you to say, hey, you have this hand in hand, this connection with persons of disabilities, and I don't know how else to say that, this market of it, they can really just reach out to you and say, hey, we're looking for, as you said earlier, a person who's a wheelchair user. We don't know where to look. We don't know who to ask. Let's call John.
Yeah. And so that's happening more and more frequently, which is exciting. Number one, I'm excited not just to have my name attached to it. What I'm excited about is the fact that there's more opportunities. So we are starting to see more and more things come down the line here that are geared for or open to persons with disabilities. So in that respect, there is a new film that I'm going to be working on. And I will be working primarily on doing a lot of the casting. So I'm working with, you know him as well. He's a good friend of ours, Douglas Ewan.
Yep.
From Ewan Productions. He's doing a wonderful film called MAME. And so I'm excited to kind of get to work on that. I'll be helping out with some of the locations, some of the recruitment, kind of working behind the scenes. But it's a beautiful film, really, really interesting, totally different concept. If I had to, my personal take on it, I don't know if Douglas would really appreciate this, but my personal take on it is that it's kind of like The Devil Wears Prada meets Blade Runner.
All right. Yeah. Okay.
So it's got a definite LGBTQ 2S plus sort of a feel to it as well. And it's also really body positive, which I'm really excited about, because the models that will be in the film are of all different types of shapes and sizes and that sort of thing. And it's really it's a fantastic commentary on what we're putting importance on.
When you talk about representation, as you do there, it's neat when you're watching a show or you're really into a binge series, and as you know, the project we did, Jitters, and a lot of the feedback we got was we didn't realize that she was disabled until the second or third watch, and it was really neat when we see ourselves on television and film, and you look at that representation, but then you kind of oversee and don't really pay attention to people and markets and areas that aren't. So when you're working with Douglas here on MAME, and you're getting body positive, right? There's a huge push with Lizzo, body positive models. And then we look at representation, and we can call John and say, hey, we need some help with guidance of this persons with disabilities or the LGBTQ plus. Yeah. That's really cool.
It's been really lovely. And so I'm excited to be working on that. But here's the funny thing is, like, when I was a kid, I was such a wimp when it came to watching horror films. And now it seems like all I do is
watch horror films,
is work in horror films or thriller. So it's kind of fun, but I've got a bunch of different projects going on right now in addition to MAME. But MAME is going to be kind of a groundbreaking thing for me, because I'll be working more in terms of the casting side of things, which is very cool. And so MAME is happening. I've got Pay to Die, which is a really fantastic film that's coming out. Also Mistletoe Massacre, a couple of Christmas horror films. Nothing says Christmas like death.
I saw you posted that one on social media, and I was like, okay, Mistletoe Massacre. Let's get her going.
And then I'm really excited about, of course, my short film that I wrote and produced, and that's Can't Escape Myself, which is in post-production right now.
Wonderful.
And then there's another wonderful film by Jonestown Films down in Kentucky that I've signed on to, and that one is another horror film, and it's called Phantom Fun World. But
so that other project is Phantom Fun World.
Yes, Phantom Fun World through Jonestown Films. It's being shot. Oh my gosh, what an incredible cast! So we have the original Jason from Friday the 13th. Wow. In it, and it is being shot in an abandoned amusement park, and so it's really very. To me, it reminds me of a Scooby-Doo episode. But on steroids. It's so crazy. It's so fun, and of course, just all of the elements of surprise that you can have in a fun house, and in an amusement park is just incredible. So lots of great visuals, lots of great moments, lots of great little situations, lots of great opportunities for comedy and thrill. So yeah, so lots of really great projects happening right now.
It sounds like you're super busy with Act with Purpose and the projects that you have going on.
Yes.
Is there something kind of that you said, if I could throw one more thing in there, one more project, one more thing for John or Act with Purpose, what's the one more that you'd like to throw in?
Well, funny enough, I have had the opportunity to recently connect with a very famous Israeli actor. He's Canadian born, but he was primarily became famous in Israel. And his name is Jonathan Segal. And Jonathan Segal kind of made his way to fame through these really fun, kind of cheeky series called Lemon Popsicle. And then he went on to do several amazing films, including Schindler's List. And now he is making his own films and is writing and producing and directing. And he's a powerhouse. He's absolutely so brilliant on all aspects. So he's actually going to be doing a workshop at Act with Purpose and working with actors on his new screenplay. So he's just written a new project. He's in the process of getting it produced here in Canada, which may become another project for me. Who knows?
One more.
Yeah, one more. But I'm really excited to have him at Act with Purpose. He hasn't done a workshop like this. And the fact that Act with Purpose is going to be the home of where he does this is really pretty spectacular. We're very blessed. And also just in reading through it, we did a little read through the other day, he and I, and he said, John, why aren't you acting? And wouldn't you know how funny things happen? An agent reached out to me a couple of days ago. I was at dinner and said, hey, I've got a crazy question for you. Have you ever thought about getting back into acting? Because I want to represent you. So I may start doing a little bit of acting myself and kind of dipping my toes back into that arena, which is exciting. But also, I guess the reason why I kind of never dawned on that before or explored that was because, I don't know, I had this idea in my head that if I was an acting coach and I'm coaching others, I just don't want to coach somebody who's in the same cast type as me.
Sure, yeah.
For the same role and have them feel like I'm not coaching them, like the conflict of interest thing, right? Like, how can I coach somebody on the same role that I'm going out for, and am I doing the best job? So I kind of had a little pep talk with myself, and I said, well, how many people do I have in my age category that I coach? Not that many. And most of them are not the same cast type. I don't think we would be going out for the same thing. So, so I said, you know what? Let's explore this. So those are a couple of the new projects that I'm kind of, the other sticks I'm throwing on the fire.
And everything for Act with Purpose is at actwithpurpose.com or .ca?
.ca. Yeah. Perfect. And then in addition to that, I think the thing that your listeners will be very interested in knowing is that we do have the Act on Ability Foundation as well. And so Act on Ability is going to be looking for its first 12 participants to go through a training program at Act on Ability, which is housed in the same studio as Act with Purpose. We are going to be putting them through a 2-weekend, 4-day, very intense training session. And then it will culminate in working and meeting with agents and casting directors across the GTA. So if you are a person with a disability and you've always thought, hey, I want to get in, try this whole acting thing, and you think that you might be a great representation for our community, then I would love to meet with you. You can send an email to John, John, at actwithpurpose.ca, and we will send you an application for you to fill out. And it looks like Tracy and I are going to be going on morning television as well to kind of announce this and start kind of breaking the news. It's also a great way for people to get involved if they're in the community already, if they're part of the television and film community. We want to let casting directors, agents, directors, managers, producers, writers know that we have talent that will be fully trained and ready to work on set. And so that's our next step. That's the next project.
So out of curiosity, when we talk about persons with disabilities, the large societal norm of it is that there's a physical disability or something visual that they can just discern between you and someone else. When you talk about these acting classes in this 4-day, 2-weekend workshop, if there's somebody out there listening who says, hey, I don't have a physical disability, I have what's referred to as an invisible disability, are they still able to apply?
Absolutely. I think it's important to have a full spectrum of representation in television and film. It's not about just any one aspect. I think that there's a lot of really interesting things that can come out of it when we do include people. I have to tell you, one of the most rewarding things that I've had the opportunity to do is work with a number of actors who are dyslexic. And it might not be something that you would guess just by seeing them. But what I'll tell you is with people who are who see and read things differently, they have a different approach to language. And I find a lot of actors who have dyslexia or learning disabilities have fantastic acting instincts because they've had to find ways to survive. They've had to find ways to make it through or pass, right? And by doing so, I think they've embraced language in a very complex and different way from neurotypical people. And so that's been something that's been really, really, really rewarding. And also working with people who are developmentally different, I have had the best time really getting to know the capabilities, because I think that's the thing is so many people, when they hear disability, they focus on the thing that they do. But when I'm working with people with disabilities, I really find the work to be kind of a conundrum, because I really see just a completely different outlook. And to me, it's exciting. It's a benefit. It's not something that is a deficit in any way, shape, or form. It's actually something that lends to a really unique perspective. And isn't that what we want when we're watching entertainment, is to see things through a different lens and to understand things in a different way? So that's why I love working with persons with disabilities.
That's beautiful. I have time for one more question for you, John.
Sure.
What makes John Stevens smile?
Oh my gosh. Seeing other people succeed. That is like the best thing. I have to talk about one of my, so I also consult for another company because I wasn't busy enough. But I work with a really amazing casting director, and he was a casting director and a manager for many, many, many years, Joe Lorenzo out of Los Angeles. And we kind of created this system here in Canada, and it's really worked beautifully. And I have to give a shout out to Kermaya, who is one of our students, and she went through some online training. She got an agent, and within a week of getting her agent, she was on set for a major television series. So there are some really wonderful things that are happening. And so, like, to me, watching her succeed so quickly and so beautifully, and I know this experience of not just the training and being on set and everything, but the entire experience as a whole has changed this young woman's life forever. This changed her trajectory just in the most beautiful way. And so for me, that's where I get my joy, is knowing that like this person's life is forever changed, and it came from acting, you know?
That's awesome.
And if I look at my life and I look at the blessings that I've had, they all came from the world of acting, you know, from the multitude of incredible instructors I've had the opportunity to work with, the productions I've had the opportunity to be a part of, and the learning that I've had. I mean, it's not all about me coaching. Trust me, I have learned so much from being around fantastic directors, producers, writers. And I've also learned, you know, some pretty tough lessons about being around people that, you know, are unscrupulous and not not the way I want to do business. So it's a way of kind of just finding again balance and being thankful for every experience I've had, both negative and positive, because everything has led me to where I am today. And I could not be happier than being here with you, working with persons with disabilities, working with so many wonderful people. So thank you for all the work you guys do. And I hope we get some of your listeners applying to Act on Ability Foundation. And if you want more information on that, that's at www.actonability.ca.